So, 50 SCVs. Have you been working on getting 50 SCVs?
Yes. I usually get around 65.
That's good. Almost there. TY series. Did you watch one of those?
I did watch it. I don't know that I can say I watched it closely, as in, like, you mentioned pausing it after he builds every game or every building. I didn't do that.
That's fair. But you did. Which series did you watch?
I don't remember. It was just that.
So I would argue you didn't watch that closely at all.
Fair.
Was it what race was his opponent?
I want to say it was Zerg.
You want to say he was Zerg?
I watched a bunch of TY stuff.
Okay, it's fair.
I just watched some professional Starcraft.
Name one person that TY could potentially play.
Maru.
There you go. Okay, we got close enough. There. I was making sure you weren't completely bullshitting. You know what some pro player names are. Okay. How about not being addicted to the select all army hotkey?
Yeah, I took your advice. Just select all army and then put it in control group 1, typically.
Which is not a solution, but it's better than nothing, right? Like, it's better. Is that noticeable? Have you found yourself using that, or are you still using select all army a lot?
Yeah, I would say, like, the attacks I'll use control groups. I even used like 2 control groups a couple of times. It's more just being aware of it now. I'll notice that sometimes the opponent will do that. Like there was one game where the opponent used like all army hotkey, and he had battle cruisers and Vikings, and his Vikings showed up to attack my Marines like a little bit before his battle cruisers did.
And they all just died.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It just knowing it's a or like being aware of it is part of it, and that's kind of the point. And then how about giraffes? I
have been tempted, but I have with.
You've recognized when you are about to make a mistake. You felt the urge.
Necessarily a mistake.
I would call it a mistake, but one of us is more qualified. No actual. What about holding off attacking for 50 SCVs?
Yeah, usually there was a couple of games where, like, I had a Zerg opponent who basically had no lings and expanded to a third base, and so I didn't do it in that situation. I did attack and won, but typically I just kind of wait until I max out until I attack. Doesn't go.
They're finding a middle ground is the important part eventually, but it's better to max out and attack than try to just find random timings. So, third base by 6 minutes.
Yes, I have been mostly doing that. Every now and again, I get a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually probably the most dramatic one. That's the one that's the hardest, I think, to regularly pull off. So if you're getting close to that, that's good. 6 minutes is pretty early for a third for Terran. Unless you're doing like a 3cc build, but those are a little risky. So. And then supply before micro.
Yes. In fact, my my SE2 replay stats no longer says supply block with the exception of Terran versus Zerg.
That's okay. That's a little fair. If it was going to be anywhere, that would be the best place. And then the hard AI games, I think I saw some versus AI. Was that what that was?
Yeah, I played more than 5. I think you told me to play 10. I think I played around 10 or 20 of those. It kind of makes you nervous to play real people after that, though. Also, the hard AI is really easy. They never like go past 100 supply or something.
But did it feel like it helped you just be more ready to do your build, I guess? Like you have the build?
I have the first part of a build. I think I have a build up until I add on the production and the third CC at 6 minutes, and then.
Well, that's most of where a build gets you. Once you get to about 3 bases, it becomes less of a build and more of a game plan. So. it's hard to map out past 100 supply regularly, which is around when 3 CCs kick in. Okay, and how about scouting? How's that felt?
Yes, I've been doing the 1 minute. Typically, like there's like three things that come all at once, right? It's like I have to scout, I have to build an refinery, and I have to build the barracks and the SCV. It all comes like right around the exact same time. Uh, Typically, I'll forget one of those things, and it'll be a little bit delayed, or like the orbital will be a little bit delayed. But it is on my list of things to do, and I generally do it.
All right. Well, it sounds good on paper. Sounds like you've been doing most of it. Now let's find out. So, this is I'm gonna look at your notes for it, such as they are. Okay, opening max out on 3 bases, attack with no tanks because I'm scared of losing my army. Lose my army except tanks. I feel like it writes itself here. But lose 4th. Okay, so what do you think are your biggest mistakes in this game? Like,
Well, so I think the biggest mistakes here are the inability to control an army and fight. I guess it's like, it's only gold, but I'm seeing people use Storm really effectively, and I just don't know how to fight it, so I always lose it. And so now I'm really gun shy, and it's like, okay, well, this guy has a ground army, so I'm pretty much protected with tanks. So let me max out. I'm way ahead of him when I max out, but I only bring like 2/3 of my army, and then he storms it, and then I get crushed. But then
feels like you're kind of answering your own
additional depots.
Point here. There's a reason you build the most expensive units, and they're part of your army.
Yeah, but if I bring the tanks and then lose, then it's game over. Whereas if I
don't bring the tanks and lose your army, it's also over, but it takes longer.
Sometimes.
That's fair. Who knows? So, that refinery's late. Refinery goes on 17. Just like 95% of builds. Sometimes it's a little earlier, but almost never later. It's just one SCV late.
Yeah, I think I got distracted this time with the scout or something like that.
If I notice something like that, I'm just going to point it out, so maybe you'll remember me reminding you in your next game, or the ones after. And so the bright side is now you're not going to be tempted to build a Reaper first. The downside is that is because your gas was still late. So the gas should be on time. That is important. It's not a huge deal. The bigger deal is making sure everything else is on time. Like, I feel like being tempted to go Reaper is just not... Like, you got all the information there, right? Is there anything you're concerned about now?
New subscriber detected.
No, it didn't look like he was rushing or anything like that.
Yeah, he has 2 pylons in his base. He's got 1 gateway. He's got 2 gas, but you saw the cyber core, like... You gotta beat on most of it.
CC upgraded, but at what cost?
Go, go, go! SCV ready.
Does it feel slower watching like this? Or I'm on your camera, but...
It does feel pretty slow.
SCV ready.
So, you gotta get the second depot on time. Like, that is... The second depot goes on 21 or 22. What you can usually do is build a second depot after you start your command center, and then you can rally that SCV from second depot to build a bunker, and you should still have a bunker in time. Because notice he's building his stalker now. How long do you think? Do you think that stalker is going to be walking across the map anytime soon? Like, you got a little bit of time here. The only threat would be if he built a zealot, but he didn't build a zealot. And if he built a zealot, you should feel good that he built a zealot, because zealots are bad. They get better later, of course, but for now. Let's see, 21 depot after CC. Queue up bunker. You can queue it up right as you build the depot. It's just the mining time of the SCV. Like, you don't want to have 3-4 SCVs building things when one could build several of your early buildings. I know that goes against some of what you've heard from guides and stuff, like don't queue up like 8 turrets. But this early, building a depot and then a bunker is fine. Not like a depot, a bunker, and then another racks, and then a factory. No. Just like short, small jobs for the SCVs. But it is, like, this is kind of unacceptable, is getting supply blocked at 23. This is the not building your second pylon for Terran. Literally the same supply. Now the command center counts as 2 supply depots, but if you're waiting for your command center to finish, that's a problem.
Add-on finished up.
Do you usually wait for the CC to finish, or did you just forget the depot here?
No, it's a little embarrassing. Somehow I thought I was supposed to wait for the CC to finish based on our last coaching session. I must have gotten lost in translation or something.
I'm gonna read my own notes. Oh yeah, my notes don't have a second depot in them. I feel like this is my fault for not spelling it out explicitly. I know that sounds condescending, and that's because it was meant to be. But the implication is, like, every build. This is kind of like the why you pause on TY's build after every building, just to not forget. Like, so I'm not gonna adapt the old. I'm gonna copy paste. Let me show Twitch chat as well what I wrote. It was 13 rally to depot, 14 depot, 16 rack, 17 refinery, 20 reaper/orbital. I'm adapting that to marine/orbital. And then it stopped kind of before the second depot. So I'll give you that. So yeah, the second depot, kind of a really big deal. So
It's like I can blame these losses on you. Is that what you're saying?
that's fair. Yeah, I'll take full responsibility for not spoon feeding the entire build. You did, I will give you credit for following to the letter, but there is no build you should follow to the letter besides maybe like Hero Marines builds. He has them mapped out to like 165 supply, and it's ridiculous. But I wouldn't try. I don't try. Like, I'll go to 70 supply. I'll be like, you know what? I'll take it from here. Like, we're already way too far off on it. But yeah, you need the second depot. Notice how now you're like, can you see when you've taken over the build? When depots are just kind of randomly going up? That is a gap that needs to be. You just build on the top of the ramp. You do actually want to wall off against Protoss.
SCV ready.
You don't want adepts getting in, or zealots, or DTs easily.
CC upgrade done. You remember this time?
Yeah, you know what's interesting is I have never encountered an adept in my StarCraft career.
That's not. That can't be true. There's
swear
no
to
way
God.
that's true at all. You've
It's
never
just-
encountered a single adept.
No one has ever built an adept against me, ever.
That
Or
can't
I've
be
never-
true.
I've never made it past gold. I don't mean there's a correlation there, but
No, I mean, like, I believe you, adepts aren't common, but there's no way you haven't ever faced an adept. I bet this game there's adept. Are you willing to commit to me that this game there are no adepts built?
I am willing to commit that I did not notice any adepts this game.
They might not use shade as well. Like, but like, okay, well, but eventually people will build adepts. It's more just having a wall off is a good practice in general. Maybe not at the natural, so like you don't need these depots, right? Like, this is just a waste of money
Add-on is
right
ready
now.
to go.
Eventually, you do need to build the depots, but you need to build SCVs more than you need to build the depots. Or more production, or
Your
any
add-on is all
units. Like, there needs to be Marines building right now. As opposed to... And also, what's the tank for? So why are we building the tank?
I know you said I was supposed to build not a tank first, but I just build a tank first all the time. I'm supposed to build a cyclone first, but I just always forget the cyclone and just always build a tank first.
Okay, so don't. Then again, this is like the tank first. Thank you for the honesty. I get it. The tank makes you feel safe, but it actually makes you less safe because a tank doesn't shoot up, and also we both know you're not going to move it out. Like you described, part of the reason you struggle is because tanks essentially are permanent residents. It's like trailer park tanks, okay? Like, what? Technically, you can move the trailer, but like, you're probably not gonna. So, no trailer park tanks. Like, 2 on defense max. Because that's a real issue. You've seen it. You've seen Bronze League heroes, I assume, at some point. Like, house tanks are such a... You know you're being a Bronze League hero when you do that. My tanks need to stay at home, so when I inevitably lose my army in a self-fulfilling prophecy, then I have something at home to defend.
SCV ready.
And honestly, in this game, tanks aren't a bad call, but you hadn't seen an Immortal before, right? You didn't know if it was Stargate, you didn't know if he was going to build, like, a Warp Prism.
No, I didn't know.
A Cyclones are good against strong individual units.
SCV ready.
And Protoss is kind of full of strong individual units, right? Like, they got... Well, most of the things. They're not bad against Immortals. That's not a bad scan. You click on that forge there, Twilight Council, Robo. Okay, so...
Reporting for action.
You got a lot of a build here. Like, you got a lot of good parts. Like, you got your production up, but... You gotta use it. Like, this is... You've been pretty okay about SCV production. Literally right now, you stop. But, like, the SCV production is better than it was. At least from what I remember. I'm putting it under good things. We're gonna have a good things part, so that way.
Oh, good.
SCV
Now I have your attention.
production. Bad things. Unit production. Like, once you build a structure or, like, something like a reactored barracks, you should have pretty close to 100% uptime on it. Like, you're not going to be producing Marines 100%, but, like, 80% of the time, right? Not build 4 Marines and my work here is done kind of situation. Because that's how you end up, like, it kind of defeats the purpose of adding production if you're not going to use it.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely
also-
something I struggle with.
So, yeah, gases 3 and 4 at 40 SCVs. Do you need more gas right now? Is that a priority?
No.
Right now, you're at 40 SCVs. You've been mining these gas a couple hundred extra. How much extra gas do you have?
448.
So if you were mining out of neither of those gas, and you've mined 400 gas, I like. There's actually the number you can check. You've mined just under 400 gas out of the gas geysers. So if you had just started building those gas geysers now, it would be a good time. But this is another, like, this is a staple. You'll start noticing this in other players once you stop doing it yourself, which is, I'm taking the gas because I have the minerals now. The reason you have the minerals now is because you haven't added on the production, you haven't added on the workers yet. But you won't have the minerals after you take the gas and you're not mining enough, right? So right now you're hurting to build Marines regularly, SCVs. That's because you shouldn't be taking those gases till at the very least 35 SCVs. You know you can hover over your worker count, right? I mean, you can get a feel for it, but you can also just look at the number. But right as you get to like 50 supply or about 40 SCVs, the actual number is closer to 35, but I think it's better to get in the habit of taking them later. So I'm going to say 40 SCVs. So that way you get to almost 16 workers on your natural before you are worrying about gas. This is why bio players, like pro bio players, end up with a bunch of gas in the late game anyway. You just don't need that much gas to make Marines and Marauders.
Your add-on has been constructed.
So, I'm putting this under homework, but it's not something you can do except actually play. Under pressure equal build SCVs. You notice as soon as enemy units showed up, what happened to your SCV production?
Everything stops.
It all stops. Like, you need to... actually, here, I'll give you something you can do. Go into replay and see first 3 times SCV production stops. So, this means you don't have to watch the whole replay. I think it'll be shorter than you think. But go into the replay, speed through, and see the first 3 times you're not building any SCVs. Like, right now, you got 500 mineral. You're not supply block. The only reason you're not building SCVs is because anyone showed up on your lawn. And suddenly, panic ensued. Not much panic, but a little panic. And it got you thinking about things that are not important. Like repositioning your Liberator, for example. This is your new drops, by the way. You know this, right? You can't do drops, but you're like, but I can move my Liberator. So I don't know if the Liberator is the most important part right now, but so not doing drops doesn't mean don't build medevacs. The medic part of the medevac is the relevant part, not the vac part. That's why they're important. So that's why you build medevacs. Like, you don't stop building medevacs. They're not drop ships. I feel we have cut out the drops. The only way... We're not cold turkey on the medevacs right now. Might as well play mech if you want to build Liberators.
Add-on complete.
SCV ready.
Alright. So... what are we up to? Okay. So, I would complain more. Like, this is... One, look at your hotkeys, even though you don't have that many units, because you haven't been producing. You know why I'm not going to complain too much about this? Can you tell me why?
You're not going to complain too much about the hotkeys?
No, I'm not going to complain too much about you staring at this silly SCV scale.
Oh, because there's a lot of stuff being produced.
There you go. Like, you actually are kind of doing most of the stuff you need to do. You're not producing out of all your racks, but you're building SCVs, upgrades, getting an armory, getting combat shields, which, I mean, usually stim is better, but I like getting in the habit of combat shields first because most people forget, and also, let's be honest with you in stim. It's not, does it help? No, drugs are bad. But So it's not 100%, but it's not the worst time to do this. You are putting a little much effort into it. This is usually what Marines are for, just sending out 1 or 2 Marines. So, honestly, besides the just building Liberators, I don't even mind building the Liberators if eventually... Okay. Planetary at the 3rd is fine. I don't mind it. I don't like it, but I don't mind it.
Wait, sorry. When do you build a planetary at the 3rd? When do you not? I thought you always build planetary at the 3rd.
No, at the 4th is usually when you build it. Because 3 bases you can kind of defend with the same set of units, right? Like, your natural and your 3rd are pretty connected. So once you have a big enough army, you really... So part of the reason you don't build a planetary when you don't have that much, because a planetary can't run away. Like, it's not so much it's a defensive structure, it's sometimes when you have an orbital, it's not just the economic boost, but it can fly away. The planetary cannot. That's actually kind of a deciding factor. But also, like, at the higher level, having the extra mule and scans is pretty important. I don't mind the planetary at the 3rd, but just, like, understand it's not usually the ideal choice. It can sometimes work, but, like, planetary... I'm putting planetary on 3rd. Not always great. And sometimes, like, maybe you can't take your 3rd immediately. You want to have the orbital and just build it in the main to build up energy. I'm sure you've seen Maru. Like, you might not have been paying attention, but you've seen Maru and TY do that plenty. Like, maybe they have blank stalkers or something. You can't go take your 3rd, but you can be dropping mules for a minute or 2.
Upgrade completed. Your forces are just a little bit better.
So this is what, like, this is when you got to be in the habit of having hotkeys. Like, before anything happens. Nothing's happening right now, right? You have no hotkeys at all for your units. That's a problem. Like, just the fact that they're not, like, you don't even have something for your Liberator or something like that. Hotkeys before 5 minutes. Like, just getting in the habit of it is important. Because what if he showed up right? What if he walked up right now? How would you react to it? Like, how would your units react to him walking into your 3rd at this part?
Yeah, it would have to
you'd hit the select all army hotkey, and then your tanks would be probably not on siege, and then any liberators that were sieged are a whole deal. Your bio army is trying to get over there. Like, it's gonna be a mess, right?
Yeah.
You gotta just get in the habit. Maybe, I don't know, once a minute, set hotkeys. Every minute after 5 minutes, check hotkeys. You think you can? Maybe that's like a versus AI thing. Is you get in the habit of, okay, it's 6 minutes. Minutes pass very quickly in StarCraft, even though they pass in real time. But if you get in the habit of it, it becomes second nature, right? So I'm gonna be old man Winter here. Back in my day, we didn't have the select all army hotkey, which I think, like, now a lot of pro players even use select all army for some things because there are uses for it, but most will still have their army hotkey. I don't know of any players that don't. Even if sometimes they do lean on the select all army. Okay, game time. Well, but it is important to get in the habit because otherwise there will be games you lose because your units just don't show up in a timely manner. And that is why Storm is such a struggle, is because if the only way you can move your units is by trying to scoop them all up with a big bull and just dump them on a problem, that's not ideal.
Your research is complete.
And tell me that isn't how it feels sometimes. It's like, oh, come here, everybody, and oh god, he has Templar. They're gonna... Well, I hope he doesn't storm too much. Is that not what's happening, or is that a description of how it goes?
Supply. Command center.
It's like 80% accurate. I feel like the 20% is just
Build
storms
supply
overpowered.
depots.
So, you know.
Yes.
Said like a true Terran.
Again. You took all the minerals from that cluster.
Especially when you don't build any units that can heal your units. That also hurts.
Your add-on is all done.
So what are the turrets for? You saw the Phoenix.
No, that
patch is
wasn't a
gone,
response to
and
the
it's not
Phoenix.
coming back.
I just kind of feel safer with turrets, and I'm not very good at spending my money, so
You
it's
know
just
what?
a habit.
You know what would make you feel safer?
Scouting.
Having more units. Did you say scouting?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, that's not a bad answer. But it's not... You see what you did on the third here, by the way? You're only at 50 SCVs. And while you're running low on gas, part of that is because you have 4 medevacs queued up and 2 tanks. So that's several hundred more gas, but you're supply boxed right now. So those turrets, 200 minerals of turrets and 150 minerals for the refineries, that's 2 more barracks right there. Easily. Plus a reactor. We'll throw a reactor in. So then you can go up to those 5 barracks of production, right? That we were aiming at. So I think a good benchmark. Well, let me copy paste from the last one. Because we're still.
Sometimes I get to 5 barracks.
This is it's closer from what I remember than last time. I'm gonna copy paste though the same. Scouting SCV, don't click out of workers, don't queue up upgrades. We already got that. But 35 SCVs, 2 more racks. I think you hit that. 38 SCVs, gas 3 and 4. That wasn't good. That was not there. 40 SCVs, 2 NG base, that seems about right. And then 50 SCVs is racks 4 and 5. So right now, right around this exact moment, when you built 2 more turrets, and have these refineries and all that, that's when you should be building production. So, I wasn't intentionally picking this timing. It just struck me again because it's a continued issue.
You must construct
Like you just gotta at some point recognize, wait, I don't need turrets. I need production.
no supply depots.
So that way I can build units that work like turrets, but they can move. Okay, now that's just gratuitous. I don't. Are you on your camera?
Yeah.
And can you describe to me what you see?
I see a queued up supply depot. I see 2 queued up turrets. Well placed turrets, mind you. But
Wait.
4.
Okay, wait. So, can you tell me how many minerals it takes to build 4 turrets?
Yes, I can. It is 400.
Okay, moving on. Can you tell me how many minerals it takes to build 6 turrets?
600. 600.
And so you, do I need to say anything more?
So, okay. But can I can I ask
Okay.
a question? So the thing is like there's I'm basically facing people as bad as me.
Okay. No need to
But-
make that continually true.
But so it's like there's like Hail Mary plays that they could throw.
We're not in a Hail Mary. We're not even out of the first half yet.
No, I get that, but I'm saying like if I put up all these turrets,
Okay.
maybe I'm behind by a little supply, but like looking at just my macro versus their macro, we haven't even fought yet. I'm already like, 30% ahead of them.
Yeah.
And so like, but the Hail Mary play that they could do would be like a War Prism in my main, and I can't defend against it. So it's
Do you
like,
know? Do you
yes.
feel ahead of them at this stage of the game? Do you feel like you're ahead
I mean, like generally
in the game? Do you feel like you're winning this game right now?
I don't know. I guess not. But it's like it.
So
it
you're
makes me feel safe.
this is you justifying what you're doing after the fact. I want you to recognize in the game what I feel like you're just scared he's gonna do anything. Like
Right,
you
but,
don't know what he's doing.
Yes.
No, defending against the 10% chance play is not better than doing a 90% better play.
No. What I'm talking about is like down the road after.
Yes,
like, we have
let's
some bad
okay.
engagement,
When you're at 180 supply, and you
right,
have
and they're
5
at
barracks.
150,
If you
and
when
then
you
I'm
have
at
5
80, and
barracks
they're
of
at
production, when you have 5 barracks of production, when you have 70 SCVs, and you have a 4th command center, you can build a dozen turrets.
All right.
That's fine. But not when you... This is a critical... What you're doing right now... I'm going to use a little sports ball. Just throw that in there. But right here, like... If you run the ball, you got like 80% chance to make progress, right? But instead, do you prefer American or non-American football?
Sports ball.
Pick one for my analogy.
American. There you go.
You're punting on 2nd down is what you're doing. This is what this is. Like, instead of trying to make some more plays and trying to play the game out, this is like, well, I'm just gonna play defense now. Like, this is enough minerals to give you enough offense to potentially win the game. But instead, you've decided to just completely switch gears. This is exactly when, and this is why I pointed out last time, 50 SCVs, which you got to pretty quick. It could have been faster, but pretty quick. Right now, you need production. Over 150 supply, worry about defenses, but no more than 3 turrets before 150. And that's a pretty hard rule. Like, your justification is very Bronze League Heroes. I say that endearingly, but also there's a reason it's called Bronze League Heroes. It's because a Bronze League hero punts on 2nd down and then says, well, Protoss is scary and they're going to do some crazy shit, so I might as well build a lot of turrets. Yes, maybe, but nothing has happened. Nothing has happened in this game. So building these turrets might very well be the cause of your loss if you do end up losing. And also, turrets don't help you defend against Storm. Just a side note as well. 4 turrets max before 150 supply. On top of that, so, what about the turrets you're building, like, literally right now on your camera? What are those for? Those don't defend anything.
No,
Those are just useless.
Well, if he brings
You
the
can
War
build them
Prism-
at your natural to defend your natural and your main. If you build them at the edge of your natural as well. There's that you can only move a certain amount. And also,
Right.
if he gets by into your main, and what if he happens to get by the turret? Like, what if it's a little off? You don't have any units because you didn't build barracks. You were building turrets. Turrets don't shoot zealots, or Templar, or Immortals, or Archons, or even Stalkers. Those Stalkers, like, maybe. Stalkers are not very good. You need to build barracks, and then you can worry about your turrets. But I don't want to see this again. 4 turrets max, 150 supply. Up to 150.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, oh my. All right.
So we should
Okay,
probably pick a
this
different
is
section.
very bad. This is very bad. This is painful. This hurts me. This is
I'm so well
right now.
defended.
You are literally like, I think the more I think about it, the more correct that analogy is. Punting on 2nd down when you're winning right? Like, you're winning right now because, one, you remember 2-2 upgrades exist. Look at the Protoss. He's has no plan. He's going for everything. He's getting a Forge. He's getting a Stargate. He's getting a Robo. This is what a self-fulfilling prophecy looks like. What you're doing is you're hamstringing yourself so much that when he eventually does that crazy Hail Mary play, you're like, see? Because I couldn't attack for 3 extra minutes, he was able to get 12 Void Rays or something. Like, it's like, yeah, but if you had maxed out on Marines 3 minutes ago, then he would have had 4 Void Rays, and then he would have died. Like, oh, God. At least you're still building some units during it. There are no hotkeys at all.
Ready for dust off.
Yeah, there are no hotkeys here, sir.
Mineral field depleted.
I'm not ready to attack yet, so.
You must.
No. What if he's ready to attack? It's not for you. What if
Construct a
what if he attacks anywhere but the fringes of your main and natural?
additional supply. Upgrade is all done. Your upgrade is
So when you see that, does your heart immediately sink because he built Protoss unit?
I really hate the Colossi. They always kill my people. I feel so bad for the Marines.
What units do you think are pretty good against Colossi?
Well, theoretically Vikings, but it never goes.
There's
well.
some other ones.
Tanks and Marauders.
Also good. Yeah.
Armed and ready. It's about to get heavy.
Tanks outrange Colossi. Fun fact.
add-on is good to go.
It's go time.
Even when they have their range. Okay.
Mind out of that cluster.
Oh,
It's still in the game. Nice.
go. Boom, baby.
Well, you hockeyed the Vikings,
Mind out of that
It's on.
field.
which is better than nothing. So notice here, you're at 200 supply. Okay.
You may establish them.
Now you have to attack.
Mineral field.
Okay. I thought you meant like you left like 4 tanks at home, which is rough. This is 7 tanks. Wait, no. 7 tanks, okay. And 2 Liberators.
It's all.
This
all
is
tanks.
21, this 20, 26, 27 supply. On top of the fact, the 3 supply each tank is. Wait, are tanks 2 or 3? I think they're 3. It's 2 in Broodmore. I should know this. But each of those is worth more than a Marine or a Marauder for the supply. So the army you left at home is probably worth 50 supply of bio. That is you can't do that. This is how you lose to Storm, by the way. Like, if you never give yourself the opportunity to use the units,
A mineral field has
then every time you're gonna be like, well, I'm gonna lose my bio army. Well, it's because you don't bring your tanks. Like,
an upgrade completed.
okay. This is what the tanks are for, by the way. It's good you hotkeyed your Vikings, but it shouldn't come at the cost of your entire bio army. This is where, so here's what you do. With that army, you got the tanks. In this scenario, you scan up to his third, or where you think his army is. You scan, you see the army. You siege the tanks, and then he attacks you. You run backwards, and then all the tanks kill all his shit. Can you imagine that happening?
That sounds pretty sweet.
And, like, well, what would the counter argument be? Well, what if he doesn't attack the tanks? Well, you just killed his base. So, that's a win. Like,
Upgrade complete.
I know you might have to go somewhere else, but yeah. So, it's good to hotkey Vikings, but it's better to not lose your entire bio army beforehand. Would you agree?
Yes, I agree.
That's good you agree. So, now here's the thing. If a fight ends and all you lost was your entire bio army and you kept everything, like, here comes the self-fulfilling prophecy of like, well, look, he walked into the... He would have done that on the other side of the map. I've seen both
Your
sides of
upgrade
this
is
story.
research complete, but have we
He would have
learned
walked into the
anything?
tanks at
Your
least a
command
little on
center?
the other side.
Upgrade complete.
The macro is 100% saving you. You notice that, right? Like,
If you don't stop.
the fact you're actually building units, even though it feels really bad. Because you, So in this fight... By the way, how about those hotkeys, though? I'm just saying the whole army here. But, you know, do you know how control click works?
Yeah, I just never
So,
did.
in this scenario, and I don't know, like, how to teach this besides saying to do it. Control click the tanks. Ideally, they'd just be on a hotkey if you struggle with it. But what I usually do, I have the whole army on one hotkey. But then I control click the tanks. Because that way it only, like, on the screen, not on the selection box. Because that way, if there are tanks in other places, they don't see... Like, if I have tanks rallied out, they don't end up sieging up. Like, if I have them in the same hotkey. So here, control click the tanks. You got 4 tanks. If he turns around, he walks into the tank. If he doesn't turn around, well, then you just chase his stuff down anyway. So.
Mind out of that cluster. And still, now that's the commander I've been waiting on.
So despite your best efforts and you're punting the ball on second down, it still went fine. I'm telling you, like, you gotta stop yourself from worrying about him. Remember? Like, what you did with all those turrets was worrying about your opponent, not about yourself. Worry about yourself. That is the important part. I don't want to hear about what crazy shit Gold Protoss do, because what they do is a little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing. And overall, your game plan was good until you kept interrupting yourself. I mean, it was still good. It worked fine. You had 3-3. At kind of close to a timely manner, which is actually pretty impressive. There are plenty of... Once you get to Diamond, you'll forget what 3-3 is, and an armory. And apparently, most Pro Terrans as well. I'm really annoyed at all the Terrans who don't build armories right now. I don't know why they're doing that. They just keep losing. No, pull the boys. No, don't pull the boys. He chased carriers with Selecto Army? Yeah, he did. That's fine. The idea is you put... Okay, I'm going to the next one, by the way. So anything else on that game? It wasn't a bad game. There were bad parts, but there wasn't a bad game. But any questions from you?
I guess, nah, I think I get it. It's just build more shit, attack faster. Don't.
It's really
don't
not a
build stuff in
complicated game.
anticipation.
Like,
Yeah, don't build stuff in anticipation of like the 15-minute mark or whatever.
yeah. I've got here 4 turrets max before 150. Like, think twice about a planetary at the 3rd. You don't have to overthink it. Like, you can build a planetary at the 3rd. That's not a big deal. But it's just getting in the mindset of being, okay, what are you doing?
So I really have no idea where to put my stuff when I play against Terran.
Just
You
put it
said
the
don't
same
wall
place.
off against-
Well,
But you said don't wall off against Terran.
Okay. That is fair. I think I don't always mean things perfectly literally, which we found, but with like I appreciate you following it to the letter. I will give you that. What I mean by don't wall off against Terran is it don't make an extra effort. Like you don't build a bunch of depots just because you see there might build units. But you can still wall off your main. Like you don't want Reapers and Hellions to get in. Just don't go out of your way for it. Because walling off hurts you past the Reaper Hellion phase. That's the only time when a wall off is helpful. So just the beauty of Terran, and this is why whenever Terran players complain about random players, they're dumb and stupid. I mean that with all due respect. Because Terrans can do essentially the exact same Reaper expand build against all three races. You can do the depot, barracks, refinery, scout into like Reaper expand against every race. You could play the first 3 minutes out against every race, and unless they're doing like a worker rush, you'll be fine. So, does that make sense?
I guess so. Yeah, so just the same build.
Same opener against same opener until second at least second CC against all races. Like what you were doing last time was making an effort to wall off against Terran, like getting your depots down quickly, like 2 wall off at the natural especially. There's no point in that. That just makes you more vulnerable to tanks. But in the early game, just wall off the top of the rank. And then at some point, you can get the hang of leaving space for an add-on. I wouldn't worry too much about it. But you notice how pros, like, depending on which side of the map, they'll leave space for, like, a reactor, usually.
Yeah, I saw that once upon a time.
I mean, all balance complaints aside about why you can't pick which side the add-on is on, and how some maps are imbalanced very marginally because the Terran spawned on the side where their tech lab is exposed. But it's just something you get the hang of. That's not a big deal. I would just build your barracks in the best wall-off location, and then just move it slightly when you need to build a reactor.
Good.
So you want to build something out of your rags. Like, anything at this stage. You can't not build. Your barracks has been done for, like you could have built before him. Because your build was better. Like, he just didn't build his first depot on time. These are the opponents you're facing. But you just didn't build anything. Like, you can build a Reaper, you can build Marines, maybe build a reactor. Honestly, against Terran, maybe 2 Reapers, but it doesn't matter too much. But you got to build something, because otherwise, what happens if you don't build any units and he has a Reaper?
Chaos.
It's not a trick question. Did you just say chaos?
Yeah, I've had that
Chaos.
sometimes.
That's very, I mean, yeah. Chaos happens. Yep. I mean, that is
Command
true.
zone upgrade.
That is a great description. So no chaos. This is a no chaos zone. And then, second depot, or past second depot. Actually, I'm not gonna lay out the depots. Just a general rule would be if you're done walling off or you've walled as much as you want to, you build the depots around the edges of your bases. Like where you'd build turrets, but depots. I get the corners and stuff like that. If you weren't going to wall off. Once again, like, I think it's better. Oh, I thought you were going to build a depot. But we might still be taking me a little too literally. And I do apologize for that. I'm not building a second depot. That's
I
my
appreciate
bad.
you owning that.
Well, in my defense, I thought it was super obvious you were supposed to build a second depot. So
Did you not know that I'm gold? I mean, like, we talked about this.
that's fair. I did also tell you to follow TY's build. So I'm not taking full responsibility. TY knows better than me, and TY usually builds a second depot. But it's an important moment and
SCVs are
important
under
to point
attack.
out.
It's a disaster.
Reaper has arrived.
So SCV died, which isn't fun.
SCV ready.
So I guess the reactor's fine. Like it is gold, as you mentioned. People aren't gonna have super ideal builds. Speaking of,
Yeah, the second barracks and before the starport, I think I built it because I was really late on the gas, and I saw that he was building units, so I was like,
well,
"Okay, like let's just pump out some barracks."
he built one Reaper, so
It's a lot. Scary.
it's chaos. Well, you also built one Reaper, so now what your opponent is doing is building an engineering bay, which means he has no plan. The reason you have the minerals for this is because, not because of the refinery, it's because you didn't build a second depot, which you can kind of get away with if you lose an SCV and also you build a reactor quickly, because you don't get supply block then, and it almost seems like a build. But you got to get in that habit. Second depot, very important. I'm not gonna rap about it, but
enemy
it's
is all
effectively the same.
For your SCVs.
If your opponent has units, you can't send your units away from your base, or chaos. This is what happens. Like if he built a Reaper, I don't know if you saw he built a Reaper, right? Or was it just your unit died and you don't know how?
I think I did not know he built a Reaper, but I knew he was pumping something out of the barracks.
It's probably gonna be a Reaper, so you gotta expect
Your
a
precious
Reaper.
base. It took dozens of APMs to construct it.
And the chaos so whoever, oh, you're still building an SCV. I'll give you that. Nobody handling this perfectly. So you can build tanks early in TVT, but
It's under attack.
notice how suddenly like the starport doesn't seem to be happening.
Time to lift to the corner and pray.
Isn't the starport like super late already though?
It is. No, I'm saying because you built the tank, and then you built the Rex, and now, like, a Reaper showed up, and everything's gotten distracted. The first thing, like, you can build a Hellion. If you need to build a starport, you should build the starport by 4 minutes. In every matchup. Starport 4 minutes latest. Like, that is another Bronze League hero's like, oh, will there be a starport in the first 10 minutes? And it's because a lot of lower level Terrans will interrupt themselves so much, they'll just forget it exists. Like, until your opponent gets a starport unit, you'll be like, oh, wait a second, I need that. You
Remember how I
can't be
said
one of those.
I've never seen an adept. I don't think I've ever built a
Add-on
Hellion.
finished up.
Hey,
Pick
what?
That one?
I don't think I've ever built a Hellion in my StarCraft career.
You've never built a Hellion? How do you play against Zerg? You just build tanks and pray?
Tanks, Marines, Marauders, Macro.
No, you can't just say macro on the end of it like it's a build. Alright? That's not something you can say.
There's literally like I built like 100 turrets today, and the Zerg.
Okay,
blew
I
its
want you to
12.
build... I'm going to... Now, one, you're going to fix... Okay, I'm going to put this first on homework. Connect auto uploader SC2. And if you need help with it, I'll help you. Just, like, message me. But you should, now that you know where to find the replay files, be able to figure that out. And then... More Hellions than turrets. Just in general. You check the whole month. And if you built more turrets than you built Hellions, then I'm going to be disappointed. And honestly,
I think I can guarantee my Hellion count is 0 for this month.
we're gonna need to pump those numbers up. Like, I'm not saying that you should go Hellions, but like against Zerg, you should at least
what?
like what?
But against what? Like I don't.
Zerg.
Whenever I see Hellions used, it's always like early harassment. and
Yeah.
then-
They're
But if
better
I do
against
that, then
Zerglings than tanks.
Not really.
They allow you to. Did you just say not really?
No, I said interesting. I'm saying like if I control Hellions, I will stop
It's-
building SCVs, so I don't build Hellions.
Okay. For Hellion, I will revise this. For Hellions against Zerg, watch one TY game against Zerg and see what he does early. Watch for what he does. Like, you don't need to be on the top of everything. You're not trying to get in and get drone kills. It's partially you're building a unit that can defend you that doesn't cost gas. Does that make sense? Like, you need to defend against early Zerglings. I'm not saying against Terran, though Hellions are common against Terran. But you need to, 1, not die to Zergling. And 2, you need your gas. So, like right now, you built a tank, and now you're getting combat shield for how many Marines? Not really important, the number. Not enough, right? Like, not enough. By the time that combat shield is done, maybe 10. If you're actually building them. Combat shield costs 100 gas. How much gas does a starport cost?
It costs
Are you looking it up?
100.
It costs 100. How much gas does a tank cost?
Yeah, 125.
Yes. How much gas does a starport cost?
100. Wait, should I memorize
Okay.
this stuff? I don't.
Yes, well, you should just have basic knowledge of these things, but the point I'm making is all of these things cost as much gas as a starport. And you have those things, but you don't have a starport. The starport is more important. You know air control in TBT is important, right? Like, right. And I'm not expecting. Okay, I just want to take some time. Go to everyone cam, look at his base.
Sorry, 1 second. Okay.
What's up? Okay, so he's building turrets. You might be like, well, yeah, so that's why, like, if I build a starport, then I'll just fly into turrets. No. The point is, as long as you don't fly into turrets, he's just wasted hundreds of minerals. Like, you're facing players who are building turrets at the 4-minute mark, which is almost quicker than even if you proxied a starport in his base, you could have air units. So, if you just lock down your build, it makes it a lot easier. I'm talking like, probably in this matchup, probably not a Raven, but instead, like a couple Vikings into medevac is probably your best bet. And you gotta be careful not to only micro the Vikings, like you were doing in the last game, but... Okay, so that was a decent scan. What did you see? Not like what was the result of what you saw? What are you thinking now?
So I thought, okay, great. This guy is building a standard, like, complement of production facilities. So we're gonna go into a macro game, and I'm willing to bet I can beat him at a macro game.
That is not a bad breakdown of
I'll
it.
mind out of that mineral.
I was really excited about it, to be honest. That's why I uploaded this replay.
The gases. Too early.
Better be good. It's about to
That's good to be excited about a macro game. Okay. Alright. What are we doing? Don't you
That
do
was
it.
just,
What's going on here? What's this?
this is the drops of this month.
Here's the thing: building 1 or 2 turrets at this time isn't a bad idea. Because you saw medevacs, and you know how much people like drops. But turrets don't shoot Marines. Like, it is not worth... Okay, this is ridiculous. This is... You need to stop. This is a problem.
Yes.
You have a problem.
Just wait. Just wait.
You know this is a problem, right? Like...
No, this
What
isn't
if he
the
just
problem.
attacks you on the ground? This is the problem. This is a big issue. All right. What if he just attacks you in the front? Like, what if he instead of spending 800 minerals on turrets, he builds 16 more Marines and stims in the front?
Alright, got a couple of tanks though. I think I can handle that.
What if he builds tanks and Marines? Or attacks with air in the front?
I don't know. It's never.
No,
come up.
stop with the goddamn turrets. Holy shit. Oh my god. This is so bad. You get 1, maybe 2 on each base. If you need more than that, what you really need is units. Have you ever seen, like, I don't know how many pro games you've watched. Have you ever seen, like, TY scout a medevac and be like, you know what I need is 12 turrets? Have you ever seen a pro game where someone react? They might move their Marines or set a rally point in the main, right? Like that is definitely something you've seen. But I've never seen TY be like, okay, I know I only have 37 SCVs, and I'm excited to play a macro game, so I stopped producing SCVs, units, or upgrades so I could get my turrets up. Does that sound like a good macro game to you?
All right, that's a fair point. The SC production and everything else, yeah, sure. All right, fair point.
Like, it's not just that you had money banked up. You didn't. You just dipped into your infrastructure budget to build turrets. Oh, Cole. Oh, don't. Don't. Tell me you're just... I don't even know. Supply depots would be better.
I gotta protect my boys.
Oh, you don't have very many to protect. You spent it all on turrets. On top of the actual cost and the mental cost, I love how the Liberator's about to fly by the way. So, really helpful defense grid we have here. Do you see that on the minimap right now?
No.
You don't, like, right now? Do you see it?
Oh, yeah.
How big is your monitor? I don't know how that would affect the minimap, but... What, do you want a 12-inch monitor?
No.
No, it's 5. Okay. Because actually, if the game's at a lower resolution, the dots on the minimap are a different size. That's actually true, though I don't know. But it's not like they don't show up. Okay, so this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's like saying... I don't know, like... You know, like, drinking 1 shot of vodka. Okay, fine. But, like, 12 shots of vodka at once is maybe a little much. So, like... that is what these turrets are. That's... It's too much. Way too much. Way too much. When was the last time you built a unit? Okay, I get it. You're like, we're playing a macro game, so let's make sure of that. No. I get what you're doing. You need to recognize that's what you're doing and stop doing it. A macro game is when, like, it's not a macro game if you have to, like, post a guard at every corner. The guard should be a Marine. This needs to stop. This is a real... No TPM over 1 in first 30 minutes. Your TPM... Okay, so what's your TPM right now? I can't believe I'm using this. Your TPM, you've built 11 turrets. It is 6 minutes. What is your turrets per minute?
Almost 2.
And this early, your income per minute is 1,500. You have spent a minute of income almost on turret. It's only been 6 minutes. Oh my god. I can't believe you didn't build 4 turrets there. You ruined it. How could he?
Imagine if I had built a turret there.
Is that the takeaway? Oh my god. Okay, well. Those marauders had it coming. Oh my god, it doesn't die. So, you might be like, well, here's the beauty of it. Look at his minerals. Imagine how many turrets he could build. So, this, I think, is a good demonstration of why turrets don't solve all of your problems. If you build more turrets, I might have to turn this replay off. Even despite what great macro or whatever you said this was for. If your reaction to what just happened is build more turrets, I think the best thing I could do is turn this off. To be honest, it's really bad.
That's fair, but
when
that Liberator attacked, he was damaged. So what was the story of that Liberator?
Not a single turret has fired anything.
I think it did actually.
No, the turret didn't get touched at all. It was just the Marines.
No.
Of which you have precious few, by the way. Okay, I'm pretty sure about it. Okay. Oh, it might have flown by a turret at some other point, and then just flown away, because that's how flying units work. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like...
were the 12 turrets worth doing 20% of the damage of one Liberator?
I don't know.
I don't know. Do you not know? If you don't know, do I need to bring my calculator out? Yeah, yeah. If the turrets had gotten a couple more hits off, then maybe you would have killed it with the 3 Marines you had that weren't in a bunker. Oh my god. Yep. Great success. That is the exact time when you need to be doing anything else. Like, this is when 1-1 starts, this is when more production is added.
Add-on complete.
SCV ready.
It's not build 12 turrets, then play a macro game. It's play a macro game, then build 12 turrets. That is a very important order. Like, you don't build 12 turrets to get to a macro game. That is not how StarCraft works.
Armed and ready. SCV ready.
It can be, but that is not nearly at all what you should be.
SCV ready.
Research finished. But I'm still waiting on high stuff.
SCV ready.
Ready for dust off.
Okay, so he keeps scanning you.
Boy.
This is when... Oh.
God, I'm sorry about those. That's my bad.
Finished up. You pick your base is under assault.
So... How are those turrets working out?
It's terrible. It's awful.
Your add-on has been constructed.
So what would be better here? 1,000 minerals more of Marines / tanks? You get it. But do you though? What's it going to be next month? At least it's not drop. It's still better than drops because at least you're focusing on your base, and that has, I think, helped you at some point. Does it feel like you focus more on macro in general? Is
yeah,
that
for
more...
sure. I have no idea how to fight a battle.
It's better to. It's better that you're worrying about your base. The turrets need to stop, but it's better than not paying any attention and trying to do drops. So this is literally a scenario where if you had 1,500 more minerals of Marines, I'm combining both the minerals of the turrets and also you have 1,700 minerals. I'm combining both those things. And also, you know, like, tanks can move. I know it sounds crazy. Like, really now what you need to focus on is bringing your army to the fight. Not half your army, not 2/3. Your army. The whole thing. No, that's not the takeaway. The takeaway is that turret ring it slowed him down for about 4 seconds. That's about how long it took the tanks to kill all of the turrets. There were like 6 tanks. That...
SCV ready.
You got 41 SCVs. Does that sound like the number? It's not the number. It's not the number. When you loot, like when you're fighting, so what was he threatening there? By the way, like I'm gonna go back a little. This is the hardest part. One of the hardest parts of StarCraft is breaking an entrenched position. Right? It always feels pretty bad. It feels like, how am I gonna deal with this? But let's look at it. You got to think about what is he actually threatening. So at this stage, he's threatening potentially your natural, right?
Right.
And then he's doing a drop. So this drop threatens your natural. How do we deal with it? That's the question. The threat right now is that drop.
If my tanks were a little bit to the left, it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. So conveniently, you have 2 tanks right there that can move. I know. And now we're going into the fight, and you got no hotkey. At all. And that's what the struggle is here. Like, just setting hotkeys in the act of doing it will make it easier for you to select certain amounts of units later. It's not just using the hotkeys, but it's also getting used to selecting certain amounts of units. Here, what you can do, and if you're paying a little more attention, you can move the tanks to the left, and then before fighting his army, build another round of units. But because you're like, oh my god, there are tanks, and tanks are scary, instead of thinking, the only thing he's threatening right now is my natural and my pride. Just moving those tanks and then building another round or two, like spending your money and then attacking, will both, one, let you actually finish your upgrades. You attack right before your upgrades finish, though I doubt you're thinking at all about that, right?
No,
like, upgrades have not factored in. So you are 95% done with the upgrade marathon, and you decided now you're just going to take a left turn for a little bit. Like, you were almost there.
Your precious base.
I think you might, like... Nope. Literally, your Marines and Marauders are fighting 6 seconds before your upgrades are done. Your upgrades finish at...
Your SCVs will be DE.
Literally the moment all of your units die. Your upgrades will finish the exact second when every single unit that was affected by them dies. And remember, what are you accomplishing down here? What are you doing? What threat are you removing?
Yeah, really nothing.
The main threat, this is just lashing out, is what you're doing here, instead of actually addressing what the problem is. And it's important, like, this is a bigger problem that you need to deal with. But the main problem is the Marines in your natural killing your SCVs. This is just revenge for units that shouldn't need to die.
D, if you don't stop. Upgrade is all done. An upgrade's been completed.
So, like, he loses his Marines to the tanks you already had there. All they need to do is move a little. So you can see, did you think you were down 40 supply at this stage?
Mm. I don't think I didn't. I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad.
That's because he built any units while he was attacking. But we gotta stop with the turrets. You gotta think about tank. What is threatening you? Okay, let me write these down. I know I'm like rephrasing constantly, and that makes it difficult. What is threatening, and what is not? No. Hi TPM. Come on. WTF. That's exactly what I'm writing. I want you to hear that when you're playing. You build a turret. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what is that turret for?
Kaboom, baby! It's a... You want a piece of me, boy?
Add-on. Complete.
And 2-2 is nowhere to be seen. Oh, because you don't have an armory. Thankfully, your opponent is just kind of going battlecruiser out of nowhere. Like, or at least he's getting Yamato. He doesn't have any battlecruisers in production. The counter to battlecruisers is almost anything until they get half a dozen of them. The worst thing you can do against battlecruisers is freak out. And, like, just try to right-click on it and pray.
Ready for dust off.
Build supply
Yeah.
depots.
But one battlecruiser is not scary.
Again.
Like,
Build there. That's
This
enough.
better be good.
I struggle with that. That's like
it's one of those
Common.
units that seems a lot stronger than it actually is. The counter to battlecruiser is Vikings and well-upgraded Marine. Like, Cyclones can technically counter, but that is a technical counter. You can also build battlecruisers if you're actually macroing better. But is 51 SCVs macroing well at 13 minutes? You lost 16 before, but that means you've only built 67 SCVs, and that includes the first 12. So, like, that is not the number. 75 at 10 minutes is completely doable, even if you lose some.
You must construct additional depots.
So, before you go over there and see what that is, you can scan it. Like, it's your sensor tower is not ideally placed, but you do actually see this. Now, it's probably Marines, but just blindly going at it is not... Okay. So, this is not good. Oh. We both know what you did here. You're like, well, I shouldn't use the select army hotkey. But that doesn't mean you just box the whole area and send it. There's no reason more SCVs need to die here. Or stop mining. This is where hotkeys come in.
Time to get to the point, correct?
Dude, it's wild. It's like now I'm super ahead in supply. Right?
Upgrades finished up.
Well, that's because he dropped. I mean, he literally dropped all his units in and lost them. Does that remind you of anyone? So, like, this is the point where, especially if you had more than 50 SCVs, you could justify the turrets. This will be a good time. You're nearing maxing out. You might want to attack. A lot of your units won't be at your base when you attack, right? That's when you build turrets. When your units are at your base, you're going to use them to defend anyways. And that's why you don't build turrets early, because you're building units.
Upgrade is all done. Mineral field depleted. You took all the minerals from that cluster. Supply that vest. A mineral field has been depleted.
Okay, you see battlecruisers. Battlecruisers, scary. But what you should do Well, at this stage, the priority is killing any bases that you can kill, essentially. Like, battle cruisers are not super quick, except when they teleport. So, if you were maxed out, it'd be a lot better to have those turrets. But, okay, so. He has tanks and battle cruisers. Did you know mech weapons don't affect Vikings?
I don't know what that means. Sorry.
On the armory? Do you know how to upgrade Vikings?
Yeah, just the weapons.
So you got +2 mech weapons on the way, which only affects ground mech. The armor upgrades are shared, but ship weapons. I mean, that might be intentional, but I don't know how long you've been playing. It was actually originally everything was split. You had to upgrade ship armor and ship weapons, and then they just combined them all, and it became too strong. So now only the weapons upgrades are split for some reason. They just slapped the same armor on all of them.
Mind out of that cluster.
So, fighting with the planetary was shooting your Marines was kind of the deciding part of
It's
that.
not coming back.
Oh, is he trying to drop, or did he just right-click Metafix into your face?
Your upgrade is mineral patch is gone. Up, no more.
That's a little out there. You don't have you gotta recognize what your income is. When you have 55 SCVs, you're not on a 10 turrets at a time economy.
Gas left there.
When you see pros do that, they're usually on like 7 bases with money in the bank, not 120 supply, right? Because upgraded battle cruisers, which, do you know what upgrades he has right now?
I don't, but I bet it's like 3-3 or something like that, right?
Well, one, if you have the production tab open, that was a giveaway, so the answer is he has +2, +0. But the fact you don't know that is important. Because he's upgrading +3, +1.
Yeah.
And you still answered 3-3?
Yeah, sorry, man.
You gotta... No. That's educational. But, like, if you click on those battle cruisers, and they have, like, 3-3, well, then you should be very scared. But if they have, like, +2, +0, Marines are still a perfectly good counter. Like, you got +3 Marines against no armor battle cruisers, they rip right through them. So, you don't need to, like, eventually, yeah, you do need to get better. Like, Vikings are better when they have good armor upgrades, but if you click on them and they don't have any armor upgrades and they aren't maxed on weapons, then Marines are still fine, as long as you don't fight into tanks and a planetary. Do you have enemy unit selection on?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, because that's like, for some reason, I don't know if it's still by default, that is not on, which is one of the dumbest things. Every once in a while in my guides, I get the comment of like, how are you clicking on their units? It's like, oh no. Okay. We got big problems here.
CC upgrade done. You remembered.
Ready to plunder. Gangway coming through. Armed and ready. Ready to plunder. Go, go, go!
Your add-on has been.
Yeah, 50 SCVs is not enough. That's something like this is a hard one. This goes into the I have in the homework, and this one should be followed a little more closely. First 3 times, like at least your next 10 replays, but every replay would be good. First 3 times you stop SCV production entirely. Like you're just not building SCVs. Why? Do you not have money? Are you supply blocked? Or did you just not build them? And that's what you got to figure out. And just recognizing that is the most important part. Because we're already at the stage here, like, the game will go here sometimes, and it shouldn't get here. You've heard me say, like, most games could be decided in the first 5 minutes, but many of them aren't. Like, this is very true here. Like, if in the first 5 minutes you get a good baseline and you're not building random racks and you're building SCVs, you're good to go.
Your research.
But you kind of interrupted yourself a bunch. So did he. Like, he was building turrets before 5 minutes. At least you waited till like 6. So that was quite a scan, wasn't it? I know. That's a lot of battle. That's a lot of. Okay, that's a lot of battle cruisers. Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know what to do in this scenario. I was basically
The Marines
like,
still win, by the way. If you just find an open field, well, you don't have. If you have your whole army, not half. Well, why is half your army not with you?
I think because I'm using that 51 army.
Yeah, I see that. No, like this is you need everyone. If everyone's here, you click on that. He has 3-1. You have 3-3. On the open field or close to open field, you win that. And I'm surprised you actually took the fight, but
Doesn't go very well.
That's about the best you could expect. That is actually a lot of honestly, once the battlecruisers show up, I'm surprised he had that many. But once like you first see them, you did mostly everything right. At some point they just have too many battlecruisers. If you don't have battlecruisers, one thing you can do is anti-armor missile, but that's spellcasting and probably not something you want to add in. At least too much right now. You just got to focus on maxing out. And because he won't have 200 supply battlecruisers before you have 200 supply Marines. Assuming you're both focusing on maxing out. If he does have that many battlecruisers, it's because you haven't focused enough on your economy. Which you just haven't. Because you've been at 50 SCVs for most of the game. Which is not enough. And that's why this ends up happening.
Mineral field depleted. Base under attack. Time to lift to the corner and pray.
That is I'd say about 12 battle cruisers is when you kind of just need your own. Or maxed out on Viking. And he kind of jumped up there.
Field has been depleted.
I don't ever really build battle cruisers. I don't know when to build them or any of that stuff.
Once you're close to maxing out, you can think about it.
Mineral field
It's
depleted.
just you need to focus on actually maxing out. That's what we're seeing here on both these. You keep interrupting yourself before you get the economy. In that like Marine Viking is fine,
You're all mine.
but not if they have more bases and SCVs than you. If they can build more battle cruisers, like the equivalent number of battle the advantage of Marines is you can build them more quickly and have more bases because of it. Like, you can use them to get more bases. But if he just has a better economy than you, then... Oof. It's a lot of battle cruisers. Remember, you can build the same units he's building. It's Terran versus Terran. Wow! Did you see that as Super BM?
Yeah, I was literally typing GG and I
Oh,
thought about
what
listing
a
all my,
dick!
Yeah, I thought about like listing all my stuff.
Oh,
and
he's
putting it in
smurfing, by the
corners.
way. Just FYI. I was wondering, like, he was hiding it. He's definitely smurfing. He found one in the wild.
Why do you say that?
I used 200 APM. And I noticed it in the production tab. Like, early on, he was playing... I wouldn't be surprised if this is in my Bronze League Heroes email. But he went from, like, kind of incompetent to maxing out on battlecruisers quickly. It was like he switched gears. I think you stressed him out, is what you did.
Hey, that's a win.
Like when you first defended the attacks, and like you made him switch into, oh well, I want to win the game mode. So I'll give you that credit. I was wondering, like it felt like two different It's like he handed the controller over to his brother or something. But his first attack was like, oh, I'm just doing. So you played really well. And I was kind of surprised to see it, but that makes... And 200 APM doesn't mean it's a smurf, but it's... To me, it felt like two different players playing. There was the player who played the early game, who did very little. And then there was the guy who maxed out on battlecruisers in like 4 minutes after that. So but I was a little surprised to see it. I wouldn't feel too bad. There's obviously stuff you could do to improve on. And he did a good job of maxing out on battle cruisers. And if you had the 70-something SCVs in that production, you could have matched it. Like he felt like a low diamond player or something. Not like Grandmaster. But that's what the macro you were dealing with was. And I think if you stopped building turrets and focused on SCVs, you could be there. But you interrupt yourself a lot. I keep saying that, interrupting myself, but any other questions about this? And I don't think you'll find too many people like that.
What was this you, Winter? Is this
was this me? Yes, what I do is I build a bunch of battle cruisers in 30-minute games against gold players and then GG early.
Aggressive GG.
So, even though you actually found this one, I like how you described it as the good macro game. No, it isn't very common because I actually do it occasionally, and I found like 2 out of 100 games on the like low APM series and stuff like that. So it's not common, but you did find one. So now we just work on beating him, because honestly, it's definite improvement. The not dropping, the focus on upgrades is definite improvement, but there's obviously still a lot to go, as you might imagine. It's the Gold League for a reason. But any questions on that one, or just generally about like TVT?
I guess the only question is like when to go battle cruisers. Is it just max out?
The
attack?
battle cruisers are like 70 SCVs, 4 bases, maxed out. Can I kill him? And if the answer is I'm not sure, go battle cruiser.
Okay, all right.
Does that make sense? So essentially, you focus on building up your maxed out army. That's called a late game army. And then when Artosis says supreme late game, what he means is unit compositions like battle cruisers. Because then you focus on building the best 200 supply instead of the quickest. But the first focus in most games are decided on the first 200 supply. So that should be the focus. But get there and then worry about battle cruisers. So I'm just okay. Go ahead.
With the upgrades though for the battle cruisers, like is it I'm upgrading attack for vehicles.
+2 on tanks, and then think about air. +2 on tanks should be finishing around when you're +3 on your infantry finishes, like around 15 minutes or so. After that, you can think about either armor upgrades for just everything. That's a good middle ground. Or start going for ship weapon. Honestly, once you're maxed out with 4 bases, you should have money to build another armory if you need it, right? Like, armory costs as much as a starport, so it's not a huge investment. It's just remembering to get it in the first place. That's a lot of StarCraft.
Yeah. Okay.
So, battle cruiser, 200 supply unit. But it's a good 200 supply unit. You get enough of them, very scary. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, so apparently the people on the internet did the research. He has 6 matches and he's been Diamond 3. That guy you played. So low Diamond was pretty accurate.
Well, let's beat him
once again,
in about
like
3 months.
you'll beat that guy, and if you're playing regularly and you're playing kind of regular, I know it's a busy time, and obviously playing more. I'm gonna tell you the same thing as I told the other unfortunate soul who doing coaching was Diamond Protoss. You got to play you got to play more than like 3 games a day whenever you can. Like if you do have the time, take the time. Even maybe watch the replays on a different day when you're not feeling like playing. But if you can get more than 3 games in, that's super important. Just getting over the nerves of like first game of the day. If every other game is your first game of the day, it's going to be hard to make progress, right?
Yeah, it's fair.
So, anything, I'm just going to read out the most important stuff from the homework, which is connect the auto uploader, replay and see first 3 times you stop, and then in your replays, first 3 times you stop SCV production, and why? Lock down that opener and the second depot, and you can use the same opener against all the races up to your second command center at least. No TPM over 1 until 30 minutes, and just stay on top of those hotkeys. So, anything from that specifically?
No, I'm excited. See you next month.
All right, okay, I'm leaving. But it's improvement, but there's still a lot to work on. It's working up. I like how you're making a lot of the mistakes that gold players will make, but at least you're recognizing them, which most of them don't. So, good luck and have fun. So, thank you
Awesome.
again.
Thanks, sir. Yep, I'll see you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Like, I like how he went from just dropping his entire army and then losing it to mass turret, which is just the entire other side of it, which pretty great. Not what I meant, but it is enough. We'll work our way through, and then he'll learn that battle cruisers are good sometimes, and we're gonna have to go through that phase.